What's the best book you've ever read? The Once Future King by T.H. White. It's a bit of a long one, but that's not a flaw. It flies by. I love it. Beautifully combines mythology, history, comedy, tragedy, and philosophy into a single life-changing read that really makes one want to make the world a better, more unified place. And the real shame is how few have read it, but most who have love it to pieces. East of Eden for me. Papillon, or Guards. Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. The one that made the most impact on me was Lord of the Flies by William Golding. For awesome head-spinning entertainment, the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. Ray Bradbury's The Illustrated Man. Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky is the greatest book I've read, but my favorite book is The Third Policeman by Flann O'Brien. The Dark Tower series. The Shining by Stephen King. It's fucking incredible. It's most definitely better than whatever the fuck that movie was. Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. Not a book for all, but it's a bloody, gritty, grimy, intriguing, and brutal read of the 1840s Western America. Also, research the real story of the Glanton Gang in order to get context for the book. It helps. The audiobook of Project Hail Mary. The Hobbit. Catch-22. The Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut. The Stand. World War Z. It isn't even the zombies, they are incidental. It is the way humanity behaves that is just so powerful and true. The time travel novel Time and Again by Jack Finney. Stephen King has called it the best time travel novel ever, and I understand why it is just so good. Recently read 1120-63 by Stephen King and was blown away. Loved it. A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles is also a brilliant book that left a big impression on me. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The Giver. Man's Search for Meaning. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It's a collection of philosophical writings by a Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius, originally written in Greek. I think the coolest thing about it is that it wasn't intended to be a book, and it doesn't read like a book. It's an extremely profound read. The Expanse series. The Stranger by Albert Camus. The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. The Alchemist. I read it very slowly over a year, and it was a great read. Siddhartha novel by Hermann Hesse. The Kite Runner. Absolutely painful read, but man, what a book. Perfume. The Story of a Murderer by Patrick Suskind. Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. It's a regular read for me. I wait for call every time, hoping he'll change. Animal Farm stuck with me. Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. Slaughterhouse-Five. IT by Stephen King. I loved all of it, yes, even that part. Storm of Swords. To me, The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien is the greatest work of English literature. I also regard The Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut and the Foundation trilogy by Isaac Asimov as among the best. Oof, tough question. By genre, comedy Mort or Guards by Terry Pratchett, Horror by Grady Hendrix, contemporary fiction Notes on an Execution by Donya Kukovka. Classic Hound of the Baskervilles, thriller They Never Learn by Lane Fargo, or What Lies Between Us by John Mars, children's The Snow Ghosts by Beryl Netherclift. Graphic Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman, Just for Fun Sweet Pea by C.J. Scoose. To Kill a Mockingbird, Stop Me by some Welsh writer, read it in hospital, so gripping. Wings of Fire. A Walk in the Woods Bill Bryson, In a Sunburned Country Bill Bryson, The Long Home William Gay, What is the What Dave Eggers. Dune. The Bible. LMFA. Oh, just fucking kidding. The Three-Body Problem by Liu Cixin. I want to say the two books in the Kingkiller Chronicle, but since dude can't come up with a third book, Fairy Tale by Raymond E. Feist. Lord of the Rings trilogy wins this one running away. Nobody builds worlds like that, before or after. I really liked Cloud Atlas. The Mistborn trilogy. Wizard of Oz. Watership Down. The Power Broker by Robert Caro. Martin Eden by Jack London. Ooh, so hard to pick. I'll probably change my mind by the time I hit comment, but whatever. For now, let's go with Valis by PKD. Natural History by Pliny the Elder. It's the basis of my PhD I'm working in. The appeal is seeing the world from the perspective of a completely alien culture's point of view, but from such a badass and relatable personal point of view. Pliny was one of the biggest chads in history. East of Eden John Steinbeck. Beach Music Pat Conroy. The Cider House Rules John Irving. The Stand Stephen King. All very different, yet all outstanding. No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. I've never read anything this bleak, hard-hitting, and personal. There's something about Osamu Dazai's writing that is highly introspective, and No Longer Human is by far his best work. IMO. The Stranger by Canis really made me question some things. Good Night Moon. Outlander series, yes, the books are better than the show. The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, excellent storytelling. 100 Years of Solitude. The Good Earth, Pearl S. Buck. Sherlock Holmes. Catcher in the Rye in High School. It's a toss-up between 2000 Leagues Under the Sea, Project Hail Mary, and Phantoms. Toss-up. Cook by Michael Pollan or Salt, A World History by Mark Kurlansky. Whereas my all-time favorite book is Dune, I have to give credit to the book that started it all for me, The Wonderful Flight to the Mushroom Planet. As a child, it was what introduced me to sci-fi, and has made a lasting impression in my life as a fantastic book. Well, books, The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty series. A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick. The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings are favorites of mine, as well as the Dark Tower series, but I'd have to say The Fish Who Could Wish by John Bush. My mom and I used to read that together all the time when I was a kid. Very fond memories of that, and it's what got me interested in reading. From that I went to Disney Books, to Hill Street I think, read them for school, to Goosebumps, to Stephen King, to Tolkien, all started with that fish. Voices from Chernobyl. The Art of Racing in the Rain. Woof woof. The Giver. Read it in school. It's got a really interesting storyline. I plan on writing a small little essay kind of thing based on it for extra credit in my class. Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World by Murakami. Original, creative, and sticks long with the reader after it ends. 3. If you'd asked me when I was 9, I would have said Sabriel by Garth Nix, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. At 12, Ice Station by Matthew Riley. The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, not one I'd recommend at 12, though. At 16, Daughter of the Empire by Raymond Feist, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. Recently, The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. I'm sure it will change again in the future. The Illuminatus trilogy is pretty good and weird. The House in the Cerulean Sea is up there. Well, I'm a pretty big dork, so my favorite is always Pickwick Papers by Charles Dickens. The Drifters Michener, Hamon Rybukovsky, Arabian Nights Burton, Siddhartha Hess, so many good books to choose from. Don't see The Stand by Stephen King in here, so I'll just throw that out there. Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. Clifford the Big Red Dog. The Century Trilogy by Ken Follett. I also love his Kingsbridge series. The Little Prince. A Confederacy of Dunces was the first book I read that made me laugh out loud. It's pretty preposterous, and I keep waiting for a film or series to happen. The author's story is interesting too. It's just a really good book. My copy's cover has come off completely. Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz. The C Programming Language by Brian Kernighan and Dennis Ritchie. There are so many, but my favorite would probably be Only Begotten Daughter, James K. Morrow, wonderful in its bizarreness. And The As Saw the Angel by Nick Cave. It was such an interesting ride all the way through. Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis. The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. The Autobiography of Casanova. It's insanely long, but equally as fascinating. It's a free to download from the Gutenberg Project. Foe. Three Kingdoms or Silmarillion. Fiction Blood Meridian or If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. Non-fiction The Making of the English Working Class or Empires of the Sea. My favorite book of all time, Fight Club. Gilead by Marilyn Robinson. The name of the book is El Lazarillo de Tormes and is about a boy who was born in Tormes and went through lots of people who gave a job to him in his childhood, but he won't last with anyone. I can't remember much about that book, but I just want to say that was the best 12 pages of my entire life. Sorry for the grammar mistakes, if I have them, I'm not a native. I've been reading a lot of biographies lately and really enjoyed Open by Andre Agassi. Ghost Rider by Neil Peart. He bears his life in his books but hides behind his drums. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen and loved it. The Great Gatsby Call Me Derivative, IDGAF. I read it back in secondary school and it completely transformed my perspective on the merits of fictional literature. It shaped and continues to influence my views on the American dream, the consequences of overindulgence, and most importantly, true love. These days, it seems like every old-school King novel is a sort of revelation for me, most recently The Dead Zone and Cujo, but Gatsby remains embedded within, in a special place of my soul. If you're into sci-fi, Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, absolutely stellar world building. The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker. Everyone, especially women, should read it at least once.